An independent country superstar in the making with a huge social media following, Kaylee Rutland joins us on the Music Universe podcast.
Another day, another state tempts with reopening. How do you feel about that, buddy?
Well, it's starting to hopefully feel like it's getting back to normal. Missouri is okay in concerts as of May 4th when we're recording this, and California is looking to start phase 2 on, May 8th. So right before Mother's Day, they're looking at getting back at it, which this will have aired by then. So I guess we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm hoping we don't get a second round, but I guess it's only inevitable until they get a vaccine.
So I'm starting to look ahead to Las Vegas. How are you feeling on that?
Uh, I'm optimistic. Very optimistic because so many people are still canceling shows. Even though states are opening, they're still canceling, as we spoke about on another podcast.
Wait, why are you optimistic but people are canceling? Did you use the wrong word?
No, um, I'm hoping, but people are canceling.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
it's a shame.
we'll get to go in August, but I'm just kind of on standby mode with that. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm back and forth with things.
Bullshit, standby. We both have our merch already. Don't talk about standby.
Okay, stand by in the fact that I'm waiting to see what happens. But the merch is there. We are completely ready. It's just a matter of if the show is going to go on.
I would agree with that. Well, for right now, we get to focus on the music and the artists who are putting out music while we're all staying at home. And one artist who's doing that is Kaylee Rutland. I love her stuff. She's just a great artist, has a real sense of herself, which is so important in this business.
Yes, and she and I have a couple things in common, and I'm really excited to discuss that.
I think you and her are going to start a new podcast called the Reba Podcast.
We should.
Kaylee Rutland, welcome to the Music Universe podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, it is a thrill to have you. What are you doing during this crazy time while we're all in isolation?
I have to say, honestly, my life has pretty much just been a lot of songwriting the past 6 weeks or so, which I feel like is maybe true for a lot of musicians right now, but it really is a great time since we're cooped up inside to just, break out a guitar and noodle for hours on end.
Oh, yeah. Getting any big ideas, stuff you might want to work on after this is over in the studio?
Hopefully so, yeah. There's a couple songs that I've been working on just over the past week or so that I'm really excited about. So I hope to just kind of keep that creative train rolling during this time.
Are they solo writes or are they like Zoom co-writes?
I've been doing a lot of both. I definitely know a few people who didn't love doing video writes before now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously at the moment, it's pretty much the only way that any of us can write with each other. So it's been kind of a cool process to see what comes out, even though we are, just over Skype or Zoom.
Has this quarantine inspired any material itself, or have you just been taking the time to write other material?
A little bit of both. And yeah, I guess for that, it definitely depends on whether it's me by myself or a co-write and what the mood is with who I'm writing with that day.
Yeah, and we know you have a huge social media following. How has that been translating during this? Have you been doing any lives?
I've been doing a lot of lives, yeah, and it makes me very grateful for the opportunity to be able to connect that way with people, because performing is probably my favorite part about this as my job. And while it's definitely a disappointment not to be able to do that in person, I'm super excited that I'm at least able to utilize things like Facebook or Instagram to play new material and get to interact with people over the internet.
And is that the one, I guess, positive thing about this is that you can actually reach out to your fans a little easier than being up on stage?
A little bit, yeah. It's definitely nice, even in between songs, that I can just lean forward towards my phone and read comments and kind of get to interact with people one-on-one the way that I wouldn't get to do in the middle of a live show on stage. It's different, but yeah, definitely in a very cool way.
Now, tell us a little bit about, and I want to thank you for doing this because you released on April 24th, you released your EP, Every Minute Matters. We love when artists come on here and they've released music during this time. Was that a hard decision to put that out, or were you always going to go with this date no matter what?
It was definitely the date that my team and I had in mind before all of this hit. And I
Hmm.
know that there have been a lot of delays with people. Obviously, there's movies and music and lots of things in the entertainment industry that are getting pushed because of this. And I can definitely understand why. But on my end, it was an easy decision because the music was already ready to go. It didn't require, putting anyone's safety or health in danger. And so for me, I was definitely happy to be able to just kind of provide some new music for people in a time when we are all stuck in our homes and just definitely need some new music to listen to. So it ended up working out even better than I had originally thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, now's the best time to discover new music, and you got a song called Superhero. Tell us about that song and what inspired it.
Yeah, I wrote that one back when I was at Belmont University with a friend of mine,
Mm.
Brittany Ray. And she came over to my apartment one day, and I think she was the one that came up with the title. And it was for us like a big balance of kind of trying to take, these superhero metaphors and putting that into the lyrics while still not letting it be too cheesy or cliche and kind of letting this undercurrent of emotional vulnerability kind of be woven through it.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, I guess that balance is sort of what the song ended up being driven by.
Absolutely. Now you have released how many albums by now? How many EPs? How many LPs? I'm looking here at your site, and we've actually talked before. I think when That Side of Me came out a couple years ago. Uh, I,
It's been a little bit. That's
I'm
crazy to think that was 3 years ago.
Now, was that, yeah, and it's still an awesome, awesome record. I remember you talking to us about that, talking to me about that eh, as kind of a concept album, as kind of a, a linear thing, and not so much just songs. Do you remember that? Am I hitting on that, or am I completely misremembering that conversation?
No, I think that's spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you go back and revisit That Side of Me? Because I love that music from that and that record, where those songs and those stories and that thread came from.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that side of me, obviously, I mean, the title track of that EP is That Side of Me, which
Mm-hmm.
um, for me kind of encompassed the whole idea of that project because they definitely were a collection of songs from different periods in my life when I had written them. And each of them also portrayed a very different emotion and quite literally a different side of me. And that was kind of the idea with that whole project from my point of view, was I really wanted to have that music to share with other people in the hopes that they would find even just like one line from one song where they were like, oh, I can really relate to that, and just kind of have a wide expanse of the different sides of all of us sort of just shown in that EP.
I ask that to ask this. Are you finding with this isolation a new side of you? A side that's
Absolutely.
comfortable staying home?
Yeah. Um, I'm definitely a very introverted person, and so this isolation has, I think, allowed me to recognize that more about myself. And I think instead of leaning into it in an unhealthy way, allowed me to be like, okay, how can I, while I am by myself, still be able to interact, not just with friends and family, but kind of like we were talking about earlier with um, people who follow me and listen to my music, and just kind of be able to still interact with that community that I love being a part of, even though I can't be out on the road meeting them in person.
Yeah, and what would you say inspires you the most regarding music?
In a wide sense, I guess people, and more specifically, their stories. A lot of times that might be me or my co-writers, and just the true to life stuff that we're going through on a daily basis. But also the people that I've met and gotten to interact with over the years, the people who have helped me in music and who have kind of encouraged me and supported me along the way. And even just the people that I get to meet when I do play live at shows, and just getting to hear their stories and meet them in person.
Who are some of your musical influences, and what can fans expect on this EP if they haven't heard it yet on like stylistic?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my greatest musical influences ever since I was little is Reba McEntire. She is just my all-time favorite anything.
I am with you on that.
Performer, vocalist. Yes, she's brilliant. She's an absolute legend. And more than just her music, which obviously is incredible, and the stories, and oh my gosh, her voice, I won't even get started.
Right.
But also just like how she interacts with people, and she's a businesswoman, she's vocal about her faith, she treats people with kindness. Just everything about that is, I think, ideal for how people in the music industry treat one another. I love it. And as far as the new EP goes, I think what people can expect to hear is sort of what I consider my own personal trademark, which is, it's definitely contemporary country, but I love weaving in a lot of traditional elements, which again, I do love Reba's music, so no wonder I love traditional country. But whether that's in the lyrics and the storytelling, or the instrumentation, or how it's kind of mixed and produced together, I think that's definitely a common theme throughout it.
Yeah, now you and I could literally talk this whole episode about Reba, but we won't do that.
Oh, she's so
Okay,
brilliant.
Favorite Reba song. Favorite Reba song. And that's for both of you.
Okay, I have to say, mine it honestly changes all the time. But we'll say for this week, it's Why Haven't I Heard From You?
Okay. I got into her through Take It Back, so I'm going to stick with that.
Oh, so good.
You can't choose. I saw her do 70 minutes at a casino, and I saw the Vegas show. It was too short. We could go on for hours and hours about this, but
just ask Matt.
What
we
about
really could.
Here's a question. What from her music have you borrowed, let's say, into your style? Where do you think you see your influences coming through in your music?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question, and it's such a tricky one for me, because I think idolize her to a point where I almost don't even want to presume that you could see a similarity there. And on a logical level, that may be true, but like emotionally, I'm like, oh no, like surely like you couldn't compare it. But I guess, yeah, like one thing for me, like I've always idolized, like, especially with her vocals, how she can go really big and just belt out like a huge sassy emotion in 1 minute. And the next, she just can go very soft and quiet and so beautiful. And her range,
Yep.
I mean, obviously dynamically and vocally, but also emotionally is so great. And that's definitely something, not that I can ever pretend to be at the same level, but that I aspire to kind of imitate in my music.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I think we are all our influences, whether we want to be or not. Like I'm sure you've heard Garth talk about, the similarities between a Seeger chord and his chord for Thunder Rolls, and it's just how you interpret it. So it's not an ego thing. It's not an emotional thing. It's just, we are made up of our DNA and what inspires us. So that's so interesting to hear you talk about that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's so true. That's awesome.
Yeah, and with all of that success that you've garnered as an independent artist, you've obviously played with Ray or toured with Raylan, but also Billboard is acknowledging you as well as your inaugural Nash Next competition um, competitor. So tell us about what it feels like to be recognized on a national level at this point.
It's been incredibly humbling, especially with um, those two that you just mentioned, because both of them were a little unexpected from my point of view. With Billboard, I had no idea that my name was going to be on that list until someone emailed me a link after it was published. And I thought that it was just like a cool, fun article. You know, I was reading through it, seeing other artists whose music I wanted to check out. And then at the bottom of the list was my name and my picture, and I absolutely freaked out. And just things like that where I'm such a fan of country music that it's always humbling to be included with these other artists who I look up to so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In our last few minutes here, let's talk about touring. I know that you love to get out there, you love to perform. How were you affected? How were your road dates affected, and what are you looking at as these states start to reopen? Has anything come back in terms of being able to get out there and perform for folks?
It'll, I think, definitely depend on which states start to reopen and which events get postponed versus canceled. Because I know everyone's, I mean, we all are, we're a little cautious while also anxious to get back out there. So I'll definitely have to kind of keep an eye on which things they are able to for sure reopen. And wherever I can be, as long, of course, as it's safe, wherever I can be, I will travel all over the place to do fairs and festivals. I will hang out here in Nashville and get back to my writers' rounds that I love. So it'll definitely be a play it by ear situation for the whole industry, I'm sure. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
And yeah, to kind of finish up with that, do you think that based on your experience and what you might be hearing, that the industry may change for a while when we do get back at it?
I'm sure it will, yeah. And part of me doesn't want it to, because I do love, just the familiarity of it. But I think there are definitely opportunities for cool things to come out of this. And I don't know what that looks like. It might be more online opportunities. It might be people so anxious to get back out into the world that there will be a ton of new tours and festivals opening up. I'm sure there will be a lot of changes, but knowing how people love music, I can only imagine that it will end up being a positive change in the long run. So I'm very optimistic about it.
Well, I'm so glad, and so are we. This was so much fun, Kaylee. I love your music. I love your style, and I can't wait to see you back out on the road, as I'm sure everybody, all of your fans feel.
Thank you. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to talk with me today. It means the world.
Well, this was fun. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anytime.
Oh God, I could have walked away at that one point and just let you two do the show and giggle over Reba.
You should have.
Well.
If only
okay,
y'all
for
could
those of
see
you
what was
listening,
going on.
Yeah, we can see each other. We FaceTime on our computers while we talk on the phone to do this, and I may have just made a hand gesture at him.
Oh,
bird, bird, bird. Bird is the word. Oh, well, a bird.
I think the quarantine's really, really getting to us.
It is. I'm starting to analyze people's music I have no business analyzing. I'm just I'm starting to think myself a music critic. Because,
nothing wrong with that.
Well, we've talked a lot about on this program. So, like Kaylee, she's a songwriter. She writes from the heart, and she does country music in that vein of writing from the heart, doing something authentic. It's not made in a science lab to be a poppy country hit at country radio. Right. And you and I should do an episode about hit songs versus damn good songs, and how many damn good songs are hit songs. Because that's the kind of stuff this quarantine has got me thinking about. So you're right. I think it is getting to us.
Well, being a music critic's all right, because, I do that on
right
occasion.
Do we have? We're just fans,
We know what we like, and I don't like compromising that based on popularity you kind of get it. Yeah. So, it was great. Kaylee was awesome, and it's great to learn about new artists. And it's really super cool to see, though, that they're independent and they have such a huge following. So that just leaves that door open for whatever may come.
All right, for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And, buddy, thanks for listening, and keep checking out themusicuniverse.com.